everyone. My name is Dan Bossy, president of AgResource Company. With me is Ben Buckner, who's just completed, with some of our other staff, a long crop tour across the Midwest. They drove over 2,000 miles assessing crops and making exact measurements within fields, and we'd like to at least offer you some of the results. Ben, as you went across Iowa, you principally spend most of your time in Iowa, also got in a little bit of Illinois. What did you really see?
I think the key was plant populations, like what Pro Farmer has revealed, and what trend yield has been based on for the last several years. Ears were a little short relative to last year. Maybe weight would be down just a little bit due to the excessive rain in June, but the population really offsets all of this. I mean, relative to last year's data, we counted 3,000 additional plants per acre in Iowa, and that's astounding. And so I think that's going to buffer any losses you have because of short ears or weights.
Yeah, when you think about it, that would be, I think you guys are coming up with numbers around 32,000 per acre, which is a new record by far. And so even though the ear weights may be down a little bit, what you're suggesting is there's so many more of them that it helps to more than offset.
Exactly, and the ear weights too, it may not be an issue. Ear length was down just a little bit. It didn't entirely fill. I think that was because of sudden growth early in the season. But yeah, we counted last year, Jim got 29,000 ears an acre in Iowa, and this year is 32,000. So that's a sizable increase.
That's a big change.
And that's what's going to drive yield higher this year, and I think validates NASA's forecast, which was higher than a lot of people thought, but in the context of plant populations, it's probably pretty reasonable.
So on a 7-state basis, even looking at some of the Pro Farmer data, I mean, that came out, and Indiana seems to be a little shy. But putting it all together with Minnesota and Iowa, it still kind of puts us towards a 166 to 170 yield on corn. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, exactly. And really, there wasn't a lot of insight we got from the tour relative to NASA's forecast in August. So yeah, absolutely, that's exactly reasonable. And ear weight may not be an issue. We've got pretty good weather happening now. And the rain that we saw fall as we were touring, I think will get us through the end of the season for maturity. So things look pretty good. And so dramatic changes from now till the final report in January probably shouldn't be expected.
Okay. Foliar diseases on corn, did you see a lot of leaf diseases or not really?
Not really, no. Maybe towards the very bottom of the plant in some places, but otherwise no. And a little bit of mold in certain counties. In some counties, ear length and kernel fill was worse than others, but not widespread. Overall, Iowa was very, very good.
Okay. As we think towards Illinois, what was your impression there, or would you
I think it's the same. Mold was a little more widespread. Ears were a little shorter relative to Iowa, but plant populations are the same and will be much higher on the year. And so that sort of buffers against any weight loss or kernel or ear length that you have.
Would you think there's any real weather concerns? We have adequate soil moisture at this point. As we go forward, I guess it still comes down to length of growing season.
Yeah, I think that's the final insight too that we got was, as we saw Illinois rainfall, that was a big question last week, but as it was falling and as we were in the field, soil was pretty wet, and I think it will be enough to even get through soybean pot filling.
Okay. My name is Dan Bossy, president of AgResource, joined by Ben Buckner right from the field. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again soon.